Hi there. So I've got about 20 minutes to talk about the token economy, and then 10 minutes afterwards for questions. So if you want to record any questions you have in the chat, and Christine will stop me if needed, but otherwise we'll select 2 or 3 questions so we can have a chat about this at the end. So before I start, let me quickly introduce myself. So I've been lucky enough to work in the blockchain space for the last 5 years, starting very much with the enterprise perspective. So my journey has been from permissioned to permissionless, from finality to censorship resistance. And I've had the opportunity to work with a large number of startup networks in the enterprise space. But what I want to do today is talk not so much about what I've learned looking backwards, but rather to look forwards and to put a point of view as to what I think may be the role for the enterprise moving forward. And this is a point of view that I've been developing on LinkedIn. Until recently, I've been posting about this every day for about 4 years, getting a lot of feedback from those in the community kind enough to comment on my posts. So this is really a collective opinion to a certain extent. I think it's helpful to then think about what is the exam question that I'm trying to answer here. And that is to say, if we're going to have this new internet, which is going to be a collaborative internet, we call this Web3, where the user is going to be in much more control of their data. What does this mean for the enterprise? What are the sorts of marketplace models that the enterprise could end up operating in and making money in? And this is the point of view that I want to discuss in the next few minutes with you. I think it's helpful to, first of all, look at the market opportunity. And as I said, I've worked with a large number of networks in the enterprise space, and most of them are on the left-hand side of this chart, where they're setting out to optimize the world as it is. And I've certainly come to the conclusion that this is a helpful start, but it's not a destination. If that is the limit of your ambition for your network, you're probably better off using traditional tools, central databases, to address that problem. Rather, where the token economy really starts to function is where we're creating something new, either a brand new white space marketplace where there is no incumbent, or where we're bringing the old world and the new world together in some kind of hybrid. So we're looking at things like the machine-to-machine economy, where your car, rather than sitting on the drive for 20 hours out of 24 doing nothing, it becomes a business in its own right. It has a wallet, it has tokens in its wallet, it can be hired out to friends and family, it can pay for tolls, it can pay for parking. We can build a new economy, a new sharing economy around trading in the time of that car and the power in its battery, building a new economy. So this then, I think, is our context for our market opportunity. And it's also helpful, I think, to define what we mean by, or what I mean by, the token economy. And I'm going to quote one of my blockchain heroes, that's Sherman Vosmegier, author of The Token Economy. And she said that we should think of blockchain as a back-end technology for governing the state of objects of value on the internet. In other words, keeping track of who owns what as we buy and sell assets, and who has done what to these assets as they go through their life cycle. It is the smart contract that is changing the state of this object as it's traded and is enhanced. And the user is controlling access to their data via tokens in their wallet. And these tokens are going to do various jobs, but I like to think of them in 3 main categories. They're going to be giving the user control and management of their identity. be this pseudo-anonymous by way of reputation, or be this more KYC in terms of compliance. There will be tokens giving the user control over access to their data. For example, your medical records. Who gets to look at my medical records and how are they monetized? And money, internet money. And what's really important about this internet money is that it will enable transfer of ownership and value at the same time. You know, for example, I've just bought a mutual fund just yesterday, and it takes like 1-2 days for the trade to go through, and I have no idea what price I'm going to pay. In the token economy, we transfer value and ownership at the same time. And also, critically, we can do this in very small transactions at great velocity. And this really is the magic sauce to build out these marketplaces as we buy and sell access to data. So what then are the key things that are changing as we move from the old world to the new world? Well, yes, we're moving into this digital liquidity. So very, very fast, lots and lots of small transactions, clearing and settling at the same time. So great velocity. But critically, we're looking to change the power equation from all the power and the market knowledge accumulating in the hands of a Facebook or a Google, but instead having a model, an incentive model, which shares the benefits fairly across the owner of the data, the innovator, so the builder of the applications, and the driver of the platform. These win-win-win models where we're looking for collaborative governance, where the user is in control of how their data is used, and where we are looking to fix the problem of identity. So the web as we know it, you are just merely a member, a subscriber to a website. You're not a member of the internet, whereas we're now looking to make you a full member of the internet where you can control your identity on the internet. So that's a key change in the old to the new. So what might this new way of working look like? Well, I'm going to quote Sherman again, and she said, you know, I think it's helpful to think of this new internet not so much as a decentralized internet, though it is decentralized, but to think of it as a collaborative internet. So a number of companies across, in this example, a supply chain, can come together to collaborate. And I think what's important to understand is that the level of decentralization is a scale. So you can actually start, I think, quite centralized and gradually open up the valve to become more decentralized over time. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to use this money, internet money, this marketplace token, to providing the currency for buying and selling on our marketplace, and for creating the finance to drive the financing through the value chain as we link small companies, big companies, and medium companies together to share the credit across the supply chain. And I think what's interesting here is that we are creating a new type of business that looks more like a network, with composability of the pieces to make this business. So this composite network business could exist for a short period of time. It may exist for a project. It may exist to fix a particular problem. An individual company may belong to a number of these networks, and it may have different roles on different networks. I think this is quite a composable environment. And our three tokens, of course, are driving through this value chain. We have the money, we have the asset, I've got an orange here, which we're buying and selling. And of course, we have identity, as we know who we're dealing with, either by reputation or KYC. If we drill down to the next level on that same picture, this is the same supply chain. When Sherman said that blockchain is a back-end technology, from an enterprise, the back-end systems of an enterprise are its ERP, SAP, Oracle. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to create a thin layer in blue on top of those existing ERP systems in red. And we're looking to automate those phone calls, those emails, those pieces of paper. And we're looking to create a digital ERP for the internet, as our collaborative business now has its composite ERP. And as we start to move into much smaller transactions, perhaps we have IoT devices on the crane, in the container, throughout the supply chain, we have the opportunity to bring AI to bear to drive more value. And I think what's interesting is the data becomes the differentiating asset of the business. So when you sell your data, sell access to your data, you have to be terribly careful to maintain monetization of that data. How do you price it? If you sell it once, it's gone and can be used a million times and you've no idea what happened to it. So I think what we'll see is that when you sell access to your data, you sell access to an autonomous agent. This is some machine learning agent that will aggregate your data with other players in the value chain. And the only data which moves is the metadata, is the insight, is the learnings. And that way you can create a trickle feed from your data as you're constantly updating your pool of data. It's been aggregated with other members of the supply chain, and the AI is been driven on top of that, and you are monetizing that trickle feed. So I think that's the ERP for the internet. Now, Sherman also said that we should think of blockchain really as a governance technology, not a financial technology. And I think that that governance exists at multiple levels. We need to govern the ledger itself. We need to govern the keys of your assets in your wallet. But it's the middle piece that I'm most interested in as we govern the market. This is where we govern the DAO. So this is this composite business organization, and where we govern the individual business models, the applications that are going to run on this network. And I think that we may start with something like supply chain, but I think inevitably these networks are going to bleed into adjacent industries. For example, in healthcare, you're not going to get anywhere without the insurance, because that's going to be paying for the services. So we need to be linking these marketplaces together, either interoperability as assets move from network to network, or individual platforms will grow beyond an individual industry into a cross-industry marketplace. But it's that middle layer of governance that I'm most interested in today. So what would be that? What would be the three components of the business model, the collaborative business model, that the enterprise has got to be thinking about? Well, first of all, we need that economic model. So we have to be creating incentives to drive the collaboration. And what's super interesting here is the governing organization, the DAO, can create value for members. We can mint tokens, and we can allocate tokens to you to compensate you fairly for the value you're adding to the collaboration. So there's a real opportunity here to democratize value across the members of the network to drive collaborative win-win outcomes. We're going to have to link that money token to a voting token. And bear in mind, we start off quite centralized. We may want to have quite organized roles for delegated voting, a bit like electing a member of parliament for a particular skill or a particular function. So we have the skilled people voting, but we need to link those decisions together, a bit like running a parliament. And we need that commercial model of setting the fees, having competition among service provider for fees, and of driving the platform and the application business model. So these are the three models that need to come together. And at the center of it, we have our token, our money, our value token, which is driving the digital liquidity in this marketplace. So I talked about the need to move from optimization to invention and reinvention of marketplaces. And I think we can think of that reinvention across three levels: the company itself, the enterprise, the new type of collaborative platform, and this new type of business that looks more like a network, the DAO. And we can think of this at three levels: the go-to-market, the products that you're buying and selling, and the economics, the tokenomics. So first of all, the company is now going to market as a network, as a collective. Its core asset is its data, which it buys or sells to drive applications and collect value in wallets. And we're needing to design the tokenomics to ensure that the various actors across that supply chain, for example, are better off collaborating than not. Then we move to the platform, which will probably start for an individual industry or an individual market, but could grow as we bleed across industries. And it's going to be creating its value through fees for gas, for driving transactions, for consuming applications, for professional services to support the community. And the key thing that the platform is bringing is reuse, composability, synergies. We're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We're looking to reuse these business components to compose new businesses on the fly almost as we create new collaborative networks. And then the network itself, the business that looks more like a network. Now, because we're in the enterprise space, we need to be compliant. So this network is going to sit within a zone of sovereignty. And I think it becomes interesting when you step outside that zone of sovereignty, how you handle that compliance. I think that's an interesting and as yet unsolved problem. We're storing value in the marketplace token. So that marketplace token is driving the activity on the marketplace, and we are setting an interest rate, for example, which is going to be capturing the value of those investors in that token. We're going to have an on and off ramp to fiat. So we're going to have some reserve fund to handle that on and off ramp and the volatility compared to fiat. If I try to break the token economy equation down a little bit, we have our three tokens, the identity token, the ownership token, and the money token. I've broken the money token out into three jobs. It's helping us drive liquidity, in liquid pools, gamifying composability, reuse. It's helping us drive behavior changes by way of incentive, which could be designed. And it's helping us make decisions by way of voting and by way of visibility of who does what. The whole thing is driven by the ownership of the data owner, who is granting access to their data. We're then having innovative new ways to bring buyers and sellers together, innovative new ways to incentivize, and innovative ways to govern and make decisions for the community, and on that spectrum of decentralization. I think of it a bit like a vending machine. So we have that marketplace token, we're issuing it. It's then being used for buying and selling of data, for access to services. So the NFT is buying and selling of data. The service is the application, so the service from the application. And we're looking to have liquidity being bought by those who are going to be staking the token, driving liquidity pools. And we're looking to link the ownership of this token to voting rights. And we're looking to have delegated voting rights and some structure around who gets to vote as we become more decentralized and as we build on the skills of the community to make sure the right people are voting for the right things for the network. Taking that to the next level, we have our wallet on the left-hand side with our three types of token. We have the ledger on the right-hand side, and in the middle, we have the marketplace for buying and selling of data and for driving applications. So we have the data owners selling access to their data, being bought by innovators who want to use that data in an application, or could be using it to drive efficiencies in their own business by way of ecosystem reconciliation. We're building our services on these micropayments with provenance of the asset that we're buying and selling and appropriate identity. As we buy and sell that data, it feeds the application, and the liquidity is going to require a reward by way of an interest rate, and is going to require convertibility into fiat. And that's the need for a reserve fund. But what we want to do is we want to eliminate leakage. So we want to keep that token inside the marketplace. So we want to create a market of buyers of that token, the money token, and sellers of that money token. So who might buy it? Well, maybe we could say you need to buy it if you want to have the right to run applications. If you want to be an innovator, you have to stake this token, buy it and stake this token. We could be running liquidity pools where you're looking to invest in the data set and the money token, and you're looking to take a share of the fees. You need to buy this if you're going to be consuming that service, so the application. So you need the wallet, you need the token in your wallet so you can buy access to the service. Who's going to be selling it? Well, you're going to be selling it if you are that innovator, that developer who has the application, and your revenue is going to be in this token, or you're going to be selling it if you have the data and you're looking to monetize your data. So we have a marketplace of buyers and sellers of data, and we want to keep those tokens inside our marketplace economy. We want to be eliminating leakage as we off-ramp back to fiat. We need to provide that convertibility, but we want to try and keep the money inside the token and increase the velocity of that that token inside our economy. And looking at that same chart, but by actor, we're looking to make sure that each of these actors in each of these columns has an appropriate incentive as we look at money in versus money out. And we have an element of design here, as the governing body can allocate tokens to act as incentives and to democratize benefits across the value chain to make sure everybody has a fair incentive to want to collaborate. So where might the enterprise start? Well, think of those three tokens. We're going to have to start with identity, be it pseudo-anonymous or KYC'd. We're going to have to have an understanding of what is being bought and sold. So we have the provenance of that asset, and we have the data to eliminate reconciliation, so everybody can agree what's going on. And then we can then move into that reinvention as we move into the token economy and we move into this value exchange at that maybe machine-to-machine micro level. So I'm going to stop there. But if you're interested in this pitch, these charts are extracted from a white paper called The Token Economy. It's available there on the SSRN database. You can see the link to it. It's had about 1,700 downloads to date, which puts it in the top 10% of papers year to date. Actually over the last 12 months. So do look at that if you'd like some more information. So I'm going to stop now and hand back to Christine and to take your